Before my sister committed suicide, she called me 9 times, but I didn't pick up. Everyone says I'm the one who killed her, including my fiancé. The man who used to help me fight depression pushed me to the ground in disgust. Coldly, he told me, "You don't deserve happiness." But the night my depression came back, and I was ready to take my life for hers, they regretted it. When I left the hospital, it was drizzling outside. The doctor, a kind middle-aged woman, looked at the results on her computer and tapped the desk. Facing me, she spoke gently. "Luna, given your condition, I recommend you stay in the hospital." I pressed my lips together, silent. She didn't mind and continued. "It's okay if you don't want to. I'll prescribe some antidepressants. Your real issue lies with your family. If possible, talk things out with your mom." I instinctively pinched my hand. As I was leaving, she looked at me and objectively said, "You have a wonderful partner who has always been by your side. Love and companionship are the best medicine." But she didn't know, that wonderful partner, he no longer loves me. Jason and I had been dating for a year and engaged for 3 months. 2 years ago, missing my sister's call caused her to commit suicide. My mom blamed me as a murderer, throwing things at me and screaming curses, wishing me a horrible death. The year I was diagnosed with depression, I met Jason. I broke down crying outside a convenience store on the street. People passing by looked at me strangely. Only he, holding an umbrella, stopped in front of me, handed me a tissue, and smiled gently. A pretty face like that shouldn't be crying. I called Jason several times. He didn't answer. The robotic voice kept repeating, irritating my ears. So I hung up and took a cab home. The door was open when I got home. I thought Jason was back and wanted to call out to him, but the words stuck in my throat. The house was a mess, everything scattered on the floor. I paused, just about to call the police, when I saw someone coming down the stairs. It was my mom, whom I hadn't seen in a long time. She was holding a picture frame. She paused upon seeing me, then lifted her hand and threw the frame at me. It shattered at my feet, splintering into pieces. She rushed at me, pulling my hair and punching me. Her words were jumbled and unclear, but repeated the same accusations. "You want to get married? Do you deserve it? You killed your sister. You should be in hell. You don't deserve it. You don't deserve happiness. Why wasn't it you that died?" I didn't dare fight back. I could only protect my head and listen to her vent. Her poisonous words pierced my heart. The negativity almost overwhelmed me, and I could only cover my ears, murmuring to myself, "I can't die." I promised her. I don't know how long she hit me, until the neighbor heard the commotion and separated us. A woman knelt down, asking if I was okay. I snapped out of my daze, trembling as I searched my bag for my meds, but I couldn't find them. 2 feet stopped in front of me. White pills rained down on the floor, sounding like pearls. I froze. Looking up, Jason looked down at me, holding the empty bottle. His smile was cold and vicious. "Take them." When I got engaged to Jason, my condition had almost stabilized. During the worst times, I locked myself in my room all day without eating or drinking, digging my nails into my skin. Jason felt for me. He took time off work to take me traveling, from warm Hawaii to the icy lands of Iceland. He proposed to me in a lavender field in Provence. Kneeling on one knee, fitting the ring on my finger, he looked devout. "Luna, I'll stay with you forever." I once considered Jason my lifeline. When I was teetering on the edge of the abyss, he was my only salvation. When suicidal thoughts and the will to live tore me apart, he broke the balance. He appeared in the darkest time of my life, like a god, guiding me through the suffering. I took the pills from the floor. Jason released me, the empty bottle dropping, rolling away. I scrambled to pick it up, gathering the scattered pills bit by bit. The neighbors had quietly left, politely maintaining some dignity. He just watched me coldly. "I never knew you were so disgusting. Luna, you killed your sister. You brought this on yourself. You deserve the pain." I didn't look up, numbly gathering the pills. I could guess when Jason found out. I never told him about my past, but after the engagement, he often hinted at meeting my family. My relationship with my mom had always been strained, childhood rifts that remained, not to mention she hated me. Then Jason didn't mention it anymore. A week ago, he disappeared for a day, and when he returned, he acted differently. 3 days ago, he brought his assistant home. They tangled on the sofa. My light sleep was disturbed by the noise, thinking he had returned late from work. I wanted to ask if he was hungry, but the scene nailed me in place. His assistant was beautiful, long hair draped over his chest, leaning in to kiss him. He didn't dodge, letting her lips press against his face, drawing her into an embrace. She gasped, cat-like, teasingly saying, "Don't, Jason, your girlfriend's still here." But her tone was smug. The room reeked of alcohol. so much that I tried to fool myself with it. But Jason saw me. His gaze landed on my face, full of disdain and contempt. Like a poisoned dagger. Forget about her. She's not even worth it. If it wasn't for that face, the rest of his words were lost to me. My body reacted quickly with symptoms: stomach turning, nausea, a burning sensation rising from my gut. I staggered to the bathroom, gagging and clutching my throat. Tears streamed down. I remembered what Jason said the day we first met. Don't cry. Crying makes you less pretty. When I had nothing left to throw up, Jason appeared at the door, his words cold and emotionless. Can't handle this. But the most disgusting one here, isn't it you? I don't know when Jason left. By the time I had gathered all the pills back into the bottle, I was alone in the room. I sat in the wreckage, staring blankly at a fallen photo frame, and picked it up too. Sharp shards cut my hand. Blood dripped onto my face in the photo. The picture was a candid shot of Jason and me in an old city street. He had bought a skewer of candied fruit, smiling squint-eyed, walking towards me while I looked at lanterns with my back to him. The crowd became just the background. Only the young man buying treats for his lover, and the lover admiring lanterns were the stars. The girl who took the photo gifted it to me, saying, "To everlasting love." At that time, Jason held my hand, our fingers intertwined. He whispered in my ear, "Get better soon, Luna. We'll be together forever." I wanted to get better too, so I actively sought treatment, took my meds. Before, it was just me holding on, relieving my despair with physical pain. As long as I didn't die, as long as I didn't break my promise to her, it was enough. Then Jason showed up, and I started seeing a doctor. Just a step away from escaping the abyss, Jason's outstretched hand pushed me back in. I fell into darkness again. Jason stopped coming home as much. My mom bombarded me with texts daily, calling me an animal, a lowlife, asking why it wasn't me who died. I couldn't bear to look much. Unstable emotions were like ticking bombs. If triggered, I might truly lose control. I hired someone to clean the house thoroughly. The broken blocks couldn't be put back together. The maid asked if I wanted to throw them out. I stared at the pieces in her hand for a while, shook my head. After I sent the maid away, I went out to meet my friend. Anna was working out of town and was here for a business trip, so we arranged to have dinner together. We met at a restaurant. A piano melody flowed constantly, and as soon as Anna saw me, she gave me a hug. Looking at me, she said, "You've lost weight. I thought Jason would take good care of you." I didn't say anything. She sensed my mood immediately. "Is he treating you badly?" I changed the subject. "Let's not talk about him." The dishes were served. While eating, Anna shared her recent experiences and complained about her colleagues, making me laugh. I smiled with my eyes, forked a piece of beef, but the smile froze on my face before I could eat it. The restaurant was perfect for couples. Great atmosphere. But Jason and his assistant shouldn't be here. He pulled out a chair for her gentlemanly. The beautiful woman thanked him with a smile. The roses on the table were bright red. The diamond ring on her hand caught the light from the chandelier, irritating my eyes. I must have stared too long, because Jason noticed. In that instant when our eyes met, he gave a cold smile. The next second, I saw him reach to touch Gina's hair intimately. Sophie followed my gaze and saw the same scene. She nearly erupted, grabbing a wine glass to rush over. "Don't." I grabbed her hand, almost pleading, "Don't go." She looked at my teary eyes, and after a few seconds, sat back down. I took out my pill bottle from my bag, hands trembling as I twisted the cap, stomach aching relentlessly. Only after taking the pills did I come back from the overwhelming suffocation. But I lost my appetite for this meal. As Sophie and I were leaving, we passed by Jason and Gina's table. Sophie couldn't hold it in. Her bag knocked over a glass, which shattered audibly. Red liquid spread on the table, dripping down. Gina frowned instantly, ready to argue with Sophie. She's apologetically dismissive. "Sorry about that." Gina was about to snap, but softened her expression, smiling when she saw me. "This place is great for couples, huh? You like it?" Jason chuckled. "I'll bring you here often." I didn't look at them, just stared at the spilled dark liquid on the table, drop after drop, falling to the floor. Sophie sensed something was wrong, quickly stepping between me and them, pulling me out briskly. Sitting in the passenger seat, I instinctively tried to twist the cap off the bottle, but it slipped from my grasp, falling to the floor. I didn't pick it up. My nails dug into my palms, forcing clarity, on the brink of drowning in despair and breakdown. "Luna, Luna." Sophie raised her voice calling my name. I snapped back. "Why don't you break up with him? It's just an engagement." I stayed silent. "I know he was there for you before, and you started getting better. I do appreciate that. But he cheated." "Luna." The flickering lights outside cast a shadow on Sophie's face. Her tone was firm, undeniable. break up with him. The compartment fell into a deathly silence. A long time passed. I finally heard myself speak. I said, "Not good." The car came to a sudden stop by the roadside. The seatbelt cut into my chest. Sophie punched the steering wheel, turned to speak, but fell silent the moment she saw my face. After a long while, I finally heard her ask, "What's really holding you back?" I didn't say anything. She just stared at me, viciously, as if demanding an answer. What's really holding me back? I closed my eyes. The pool of red liquid kept flowing, dripping. It seemed endless. What held me back were similar words. The hand that once tried to pull me from the abyss. What held me back was the guilt I carried 2 years ago. I no longer had a sister. I no longer had a home. I opened my eyes. They hurt like hell, but not a single tear fell. With red, wounded eyes, like a battered cub. Pathetic yet laughable. Sophie, I mumbled and repeated myself. I no longer had a home. When Sophie left, she hugged me but said nothing more. She just reminded me to see the doctor on time. I nodded, but as the door closed, all the emotions I'd been hiding came rushing out, more intensely than ever. The neatly organized home that my aunt had tidied was a mess again, thanks to me. I went crazy, smashing once pristine things to the ground. The sound of glass shattering was sharp, but it wasn't enough. Maybe because I'd been repressing it too long. This impulse was stronger than ever before. A demon screamed in my ear. It made me pick up a fruit knife and press it to my wrist, but I stopped. The door suddenly opened. Jason's hand froze mid-air, and our eyes met. In the past, whenever I picked up a knife, he'd panic. He wouldn't let me touch anything sharp. But this time, he just stood there, his face indifferent, like a bystander. The ticking of the second hand on the wall was clear. "Do it." He looked at me, sneering, and repeated, "Cut it down." I didn't move, like a puppet, just staring at him. He scoffed, eyes fierce. "You don't have the guts. You're just trying to gain sympathy. Why wasn't it you who died?" His tone was innocent yet heartless, as if merely asking a simple question. I used all my strength, just to stop shaking. "Luna, you don't have the guts to die." He nearly spat out each word. Indeed, I didn't. Caught between medication and promises, I couldn't die, but couldn't live either. The knife clattered to the ground, landing by my feet. Despair wrapped around me like vines, and I finally broke down. Before, when I cried, Jason would hold me close, his icy demeanor breaking, soothing me softly. Just like that person, always wiping my tears with a jasmine-scented handkerchief, then holding me close and comforting me. "Don't cry, Luna. You won't be pretty if you cry." Such an old-fashioned line, but after hearing it for over a decade, I never tired of it. In this world, no one would ever console me like that again. I sank deeper into the mire. Sometimes I forgot to take my meds. Other times, I'd shove a bunch in my mouth at once. I started cutting my arms again with a knife. The shallow scars that had almost healed a year ago had new wounds on top, but they weren't fatal. Eventually, the medication ran out. I didn't know how I got through it. In a daze, I made it to my sister's death anniversary. That day, the weather was clear. I got up early, tidied myself up, and bought a bouquet from the florist. But when I got there, someone had beaten me to it. Mom stood there, the grave covered in offerings. I approached expressionless, laid down the flowers, and turned to leave. That's when something heavy hit my head. I staggered, almost falling. The flowers scattered in all directions. She yelled at me, her voice filled with bone-chilling hatred. "Why are you here? You're just a murderer. How do you even have the face to see her?" Then, crying, "The one who should have died was you." I didn't look back. My head was spinning as if I stood on the edge of a cliff. I clenched my fist, forced myself to stay calm, and walked away. Sitting in the car, I saw the doctor's message. She asked why I hadn't shown up. I stared blankly at her picture for a long time before typing. "Sorry, something came up," she replied quickly. "I'll reschedule." "When can you come?" "Forget it." The cursor blinked in the input box. In the end, I didn't send it. "I'll make another appointment with you later." Jason came home earlier than usual. It wasn't Gina who brought him back, but another male subordinate. He was slumped on the couch, the room filled with the heavy scent of alcohol, his face flushed, eyes dazed. We were alone. The living room light shone on his face as he leaned back, eyes half closed, facing me. I put down the medicine bottle, my gaze lingering on his face. The next second, he struggled to get up and looked at me. He didn't come over, just squinted and smiled at me, half his eyes red, calling out, "Mary, I haven't thought about you for so long. I met someone. She looks so much like you. I'm going to marry her. But, her mom says she's the one who killed you." I stared at him, feeling like I'd fallen into an ice cellar. He said more, but I didn't hear a single word. The Mary he spoke of, I knew her. 2 years ago, she jumped from a tall building. My dead sister, Mary. No wonder Jason was so surprised when he first saw me. No wonder he was so good to me when we first met. No wonder he said, because of this face. It turns out, it's my face that looks like my sister's. I thought it was redemption, but it's just another abyss. I stumbled into the study. With trembling hands, I searched through the piled up books in the corner. Books fell to the ground one by one. The room was a mess. I finally found what I was looking for. A high school graduation photo. A young-faced Jason, and my sister, 18 and beautiful in her uniform. My chaotic mind found a moment of clarity, but the next second, someone staggered in, trying to snatch the photo from my hand. He was still drunk, but slightly more lucid. Why wasn't it you who died? The protective wall I built up finally collapsed. A bomb exploded in my brain, making me lose the last bit of sanity. I pushed him with all my strength. I want her back. I want her back. An eye for an eye. Is that enough? Jason hit the wall, seemingly wanting to laugh, but I didn't look at him. I dashed into the kitchen and grabbed a fruit knife. He seemed to panic, stumbling as he came to catch me, but he was drunk and couldn't keep up. He could only watch me disappear from the house. He called out the nickname he used to call me, Luna, Luna, but I didn't turn back. The car sped down the road. The face in the photo lingered in my mind. I almost forgot. She was once so lively, so beautiful, but in the end, I could only remember her empty eyes, her body covered in blood. So much blood. I tried to wipe it away, but I couldn't. How can a person bleed so much? Enough to dye my white shirt red. I couldn't wipe it all off. Mom rushed over to hit me. She grabbed my hair, pulling my scalp. Then her fists kept landing on me. Why didn't you answer her calls? She made 9 calls. 9 calls. You didn't answer a single one. She didn't have to die. She could have lived. It's all your fault. Why didn't you answer the calls? Her sobbing and yelling hit my chest like stones. Her words like knives stabbing my heart. It hurt so much. It was all my fault. It was my fault. I personally caused my sister's death. Under the influence of the medication, I couldn't remember much, especially because I deliberately avoided remembering. But today, those memories I tried to forget came flooding back. Waves choked my chest, like a fruit pit stuck in my throat. I couldn't swallow or spit out. Memories travel faster than anything in this world. They made me break down halfway. I forgot too many things. That's why it felt so heavy that I couldn't breathe. I forgot when I was 6. Coming back late from playing downstairs, Mom locked me in a dark room and wouldn't let me out. I was too scared to close my eyes. My sister held me, singing lovely songs over and over. I forgot when I was 9, after Mom beat me. I hid in a corner crying. My sister wiped my tears and joked with me. Luna doesn't look pretty when she cries. I forced a smile. Tears fell into my mouth. Salty. She also smiled. Luna looks the prettiest when she smiles. I forgot when I was 12. I ran away from home. Heavy snow blocked the road. I passed out in the wind and snow. My sister braved the cold, searching endlessly until she found me unconscious in the snow. When I woke up, she was by my bed, eyes red. I hugged her, promising never to run away again. I forgot when I was 15. My grades dropped a bit. My teacher called my parent. Mom slapped me in front of the school gate, called me a beast. That year, I first thought about dying. I cut my wrist with a fruit knife. My sister found me. She called 911 and wrapped my wrist with gauze, her hands trembling. She said, Luna, what would sister do if you left? Don't you want sister anymore? I regretted it then. I couldn't leave her alone. That time, I promised her I would never commit suicide again. I forgot when I was 17, filling out college applications. Mom did her usual trick, changing my application from an out-of-state university to a local school. She did the same when my sister applied to college. But this time, my sister was adamant. She fought against Mom with me. She patted my head, firmly told me, Luna, you have to go to a better university. But such a good sister. She left her Luna behind. If I hadn't been busy that day, if I hadn't put my phone on silent, if I had answered her calls that day, she could have lived. Outside the car window, the night stretched endlessly. I covered my mouth, sobbing. Pain climbed all over my body, delayed grief slowly bending my back. In the endless night, my soul was repeatedly crushed. The living clung to the promises made to the dead. But sister, life is so hard. Your Luna can't hold on anymore. I'm coming to find you. Is that okay? Sister. The car stopped at the cemetery entrance. I took the knife and walked up the stone path without looking back. The photo on the tombstone was in black and white. Before, I came in a rush, dared not look at her longer. But this time was different. The fruit knife in my hand reflected the cold moonlight. I didn't hesitate. The skin on my wrist was so tender. A slip and blood gushed out. It slid down my arm, slowly dripping. I calmly watched the bright red liquid fall, calmly waited for death. A faint sound came from behind. Instinctively, I turned around and locked eyes with a man holding a bouquet. His gaze landed on my face, with a moment of shock, then shifted to my wrist, and his expression changed. In an instant, he dropped the flowers, pulled out a handkerchief to press on my wound. Blood seeped through the white handkerchief. He grabbed my other hand and started walking. I was pulled along, but I kept staring at his other hand. The hand pressing on my wound was wearing a ring. I've seen the other half of that pair. That necklace once had it. It used to be around my sister's neck. That man, he was my sister's ex. He drove like a maniac, rushing us to the hospital. The doctor treated the wound. There were still lots of people coming and going at the hospital that night. I sat on a hospital chair, hands on my legs, waiting obediently for Jack to finish paying the bill. My phone on the chair kept ringing. The caller ID showed Jason's name over and over again, with no pause. Not going to pick it up, Jack asked me. I shook my head. I just stared at the ring on his hand. His gaze fell on my arm, and he pulled back like it stung. Then he raised his hand, but froze in midair. It seemed like he wanted to pat my head to comfort me, but thought better of it. After a long while, he sighed. Luna, your sister left something at my place. I hope you can take a look at it. I agreed. When Jack brought down that metal box from upstairs, my mom called me too, but I didn't pick up. He handed me the box and even helped open it a bit for me. This was Maris' treasure. The man smiled softly, remembering my sister. I once asked her to show me what was inside, but she wouldn't. She said these were her most precious treasures. I hadn't dared open her room until recently, and saw she left this box there. I looked. He looked at me, his eyes a bit red. But I think you're the one who should really see it. Under the dim car roof light, I slowly opened the box. There were lots of things inside, all sorts of them. Some were really old. A drawing I made for her when I was 6. It showed her in a fancy dress, wearing a princess-like crown. A cheap hairpin I bought from a small shop when I was 8. Tacky and low quality. I said one for each of us and pinned it in her silky hair. When I was 10, friendship bracelets were a fad at school. So I made her one with a few plastic stars and painted bells. They jingled when you shook them. At 12, during a school trip to a temple, I got scammed by a stall and bought a blessed agate stone, threaded on a red string, supposedly for protection. I brought it back for her like it was treasure. 13, 14, 15, right up to when I became an adult. Bits and pieces, worthless trinkets. She treasured them, keeping them like precious gems, precious treasures. I covered my eyes tightly with my sleeve. They're just junk that anyone else wouldn't want for free. Sis, Jack dropped me off at the hotel, leaving his number with me. There was also a thick diary in my sister's box. He hesitated but finally said, "Call me before you leave." I nodded. The phone was still ringing. I tossed it aside and started reading the diary. It was thick, really thick. So thick that it took me 4 days in the hotel to finish it. Yet it was thin, really thin. Thin enough that this one book held my sister's short life. My sister and I came from a single-parent home. Our mom was extremely controlling. Our childhood wasn't a happy memory. It was endless scolding, punishment, and character assassination. In that painful, inescapable period, my sister and I were each other's only salvation. So she wrote a lot about her Luna. Even after I went to college, she wrote about missing me in her diary, thinking if her Luna was happy, if she dressed warmly when it was cold, if she ate well, took care of herself. Later, she met Jack. They began dating. But mom disapproved. She tried to make them break up, and wanted my sister to go on arranged dates with men she picked. My sister refused and had to hide it from mom. The diary stopped 7 days before my sister jumped. Mom found out my sister was living with Jack. She caused a scene. In front of everyone, she cursed my sister, called her a slut for living with a man, called her an unfilial daughter, forcing my sister to break up with Jack. She took her back home. The last 2 lines of that page were blurred by tears. My sister wrote, "I can't hold on anymore. I'm sorry. I hadn't thought about her in a long time, because I was scared." The chain reaction from the memories was too much to bear. Except for a year ago, when I had a high fever. Delirious. I felt like I was back in the time she was still around, resting on her lap, listening to her sing. But when I woke up, I forced myself to forget again. But I miss her very much. I had 4 days of dreams of our childhood. I woke up on the 4th day with my face covered in tears, leaning against the headboard, looking at the glaring sunlight outside the window. I only remembered her smiling in the dream, squinting and touching my head, saying, "Be happy. Luna's smile is the best." I buried my face into the pillow again. Luckily, longing is silent. There were many missed calls on my phone. I only answered Emma's call, told her I was safe. She said Jason was going crazy looking for me, that if I didn't show up, he'd call the cops. I said I got it. After hanging up, I called Jack and told him I was going home. He came quickly. "You okay?" I nodded. The scenery outside kept passing by, and the car played some soothing instrumental music. Neither of us spoke. Almost there, Jack broke the silence. "That day, did she call you and you didn't pick up?" "Yes." The car stopped downstairs. He met my eyes in the rearview mirror. "Mary called me that day too. I couldn't stop her either." "Luna." He called my name, looking serious. "She called you just to say goodbye. So don't blame yourself. Your sister, more than anyone, she wants you to be happy." "Yeah, I should have known." I covered my face. She loved me so much. How could she blame me? It's me who can't move on. It's me who can't forgive myself. When I opened the door, Jason was sitting on the couch. The moment he saw me, his eyes lit up, and the desolate look on his face vanished like he found a lost treasure. "Luna, thank God." He rushed towards me like a madman, hugging me tightly, as if he wanted to meld me into his arms. "Thank God, you're still alive. I was wrong. I was wrong." He murmured apologies, his back hunched, his posture humble, with his head buried in the crook of my neck. I struggled to push him away, but his grip tightened. I opened my mouth to curse at him, but suddenly went stiff. Warm liquid dripped into my collar, sliding down my neck. "Luna." His voice trembled, getting quieter. I thought I'd really lost you." Before I could speak, someone pulled me away. Jack punched Jason in the chest. He shielded me behind him. He had a floral scent similar to my sister's, so light and comforting. Jason glared red-eyed at Jack, seemingly ready to attack any second. "Brother-in-law." I called out to him, "Can you go down for a moment?" Jason's expression stiffened for a moment, but then seemed like he sighed in relief. Jack was silent for a moment before he spoke. "If Mary saw her Luna living like this, she'd regret leaving, right?" My eyes instantly welled up. The room was left with just the two of us. Silence spread. I stared at Jason steadily, emotionless as I spoke. "Let's break off our engagement." Jason refused, but I didn't need his response. Breaking an engagement didn't need the other's consent. I took my diary back to the home I hadn't returned to in 2 years. The moment I opened the door, my mom seemed to age several years instantly. She stared at me steadily, her eyes reddened, but only for a moment. Her guilt and sadness were reined in, replaced with familiar resentment. "Didn't die, huh? Weren't you supposed to have committed suicide?" I lifted my bandaged hand, calmly replied, "Just about." Before she could erupt, I took out the diary from my bag. She didn't take it. "Sister's diary." I set it down, and as I left, I gave her a long look. "Mom, my sister and I, we're both living, breathing people." My sister was naturally shy, gentle, but most easily hurt, like a container with no outlet. All negative emotions can't be discharged, only accumulating with Mom's actions. When it builds up too much to bear, it can never be undone. I had Emma accompany me to Jason's place to pack up. She came with a specially made iron rod, saying she wouldn't feel satisfied without hitting him a few times. Jason stayed downstairs. I packed upstairs, and she stood at the stairway with the rod, glaring fiercely at Jason. I didn't have many things. What Mom hadn't smashed or thrown was even less. 2 suitcases were packed full. Emma didn't get her wish. I didn't want her to face civil liability. She helped me drag 1 suitcase downstairs. Jason sat on the couch, looking despondently at me, eyes reddened. I went over to pick up a photo frame on the coffee table. Jason and I were smiling in it. I took out scissors from a drawer, about to cut it when Jason moved. His hand blocked the scissors and the photo. I used force. The scissors pierced his skin, drawing blood. Jason looked at me, the light in his eyes shattered. "Is it necessary?" I asked him. "Wasn't it just this face you were with me for? Acting all sentimental now just makes it disgusting." He opened his mouth to refute, but his expression shifted, and in the end, he just mumbled, It's not. I ignored him, grabbed the photo, and cut it into pieces. The fragments fell, landing at our feet. What's broken wasn't just the photo. Jason bent down to pick up the pieces. Just like that day I kneeled, numbly picking up those pills. I watched his sorry state, strangely found it amusing. I left without looking back. Stepping out the door, I was alone again. I was homeless again, but but I wasn't afraid, countless times falling into the abyss. In the end, the one who saved me was still my sister. She hoped that her Luna would be happier than anyone. So I must live well, life happier than anyone. I got Mom's message 2 weeks later. I took the agate stone and went to Denmark. When I returned, I found out Mom had gone mad. I visited her at the psychiatric hospital. Her hair was a mess from pulling, laughing and crying hysterically, telling everyone she had 2 daughters, laughing, then collapsing into tears, saying both her daughters suffered by her hand, saying she killed her daughter, pulling her hair, hitting herself desperately. The nurse went to give her a sedative. I watched quietly for a while, then left. I started going to the hospital regularly again, taking medicine, doing therapy. I went alone every time. The doctor, looking at the computer, smiled and said I looked better recently and was in a good state. I smiled back. Luna, living is about looking forward. We have to learn to let go. I stood in a daze at the hospital entrance for a long time. Just as school got out nearby, the street became lively. Vendors calling, kids playing, adults calling names. My phone pinged, an unknown number sent a photo. It was the photo I had cut up, pieced back together. I deleted it without hesitation, then blocked the number. 2 little girls walked by hand in hand, laughing, each holding a candy. One said, "Today's homework is so much. Can you help me, sister?" The other replied, "Sure, finish quickly so we can watch TV together." I watched them walk further until they vanished from sight. I drove to my sister's grave. It was late autumn, leaves piled up before the tombstone. I stood and chatted with her about my recent life, told her where I went, who I met, that my appetite was good recently, eating a lot more, that I was looking ahead. The doctor said I might be better soon, but in the end, I laughed and then cried. I can't let it go. Sister, that year, I had just graduated and started my first job. After finishing the project at hand, I would get a significant bonus. I had been planning for a long time. Once I was done, plus the scholarship I saved from college and the money from part-time jobs, I could take my sister to the Nordic town she loves. That day was the last day of the project. I worked so hard my head felt fuzzy, but I was still so excited, thinking, once it's over, I could take my sister out. She would be so happy, right? It was also on that day, my sister jumped from a tall building. Since then, I had no home anymore. Just a bit more, and we could have been happy. Why couldn't you wait a bit longer for your Luna, sister? The wind howled. No one answered. Epilogue. Jason finished piecing the photo together. He put it together over and over, then scattered it again. He seemed tireless. In the photo, Luna had a faint smile. Since the day he met her, she rarely smiled. There was always a shadow over her brows. Back then, he just wanted to make her happy, because when she smiled, she was truly beautiful. A different kind of beautiful from Mary. Actually, when he learned the truth, he thought he should hate Luna, but then he felt a moment of confusion, and that moment made him feel inexplicably ashamed, like he was betraying Mary. So he kept convincing himself he should hate Luna. In the end, he believed it. So he treated Luna terribly, even repeatedly told her to die. Luna never got mad. She never even argued with him. She just accepted everything, as if she was locked in a world where only she existed. But that day, when he was drunk, questioning why it wasn't her who died, he saw the light in her eyes go out suddenly. Despair tore through like a wild beast, rampaging in her eyes. She finally reacted. She said, "I'll repay it." She said, "A life for a life. Is it enough?" Jason wanted to chase after her, but he was too slow. He could only watch her disappear. He was so scared. The fear of losing her outweighed his stated hatred. He frantically called her, guessed where she might go, dragged his imbalanced body, searching for her, but found nothing. Jason woke up from that nightmare, panically reaching for the space beside him, but the moonlight was like silver, illuminating the empty space on the bed beside him. Luna never slept well before. Many times, he would wake up at night to see tears on her face. This made it so, every time he came home late after work, he would wake her up. She would drowsily hug him, ask if he was hungry, if he wanted her to make a snack. Back then, the lights were warm. Looking at her, he had only one thought: marry her. It was her, not Mary, but she had nothing to do with him anymore. The night he got drunk, he stood at the hotel entrance calling Luna, but he called so many times. It was always busy. A friend advised him to go home. He stubbornly shook his head. "You, call who?" The friend was confused. Call Luna. He took the phone, dialed the familiar number by heart. Tell her I'm drunk, ask if she can come to pick me up. The friend talked to someone on the other end for a few moments. When he hung up, his face changed, looking troubled. Jason, you should go back. What did Luna say? She's not coming. Just go home first. How could she not come? She always came to pick him up before. Jason thought the friend was lying, stubbornly refused to leave, stood straight under the street lamp. Luna will come. I'll wait for her here. The friend couldn't persuade him, got called away by his wife. Jason stood in the cold wind all night. As dawn broke, clarity finally seeped into his mind. Luna was no longer his Luna. It was him. It was he who severed their bond with his own hands. Jason couldn't let go of her. He pieced the broken photo together, glued it, still placed it in its old spot. He hid in shadows, secretly watching her life, seeing her slowly becoming cheerful, seeing her find a job she loved, sharing snacks from colleagues every day, seeing her smile more and more, each photo full of radiant, lively smiles, seeing her holding someone else's hand. That day, he almost drank himself to death, spent a whole day getting in for. When he woke up, looking at the hospital's white walls, it hit him. He was the only one stuck. Jason started drinking heavily, became a regular in the hospital. The doctors recognized him, often sighed and advised him to take care of himself. But Jason kept drinking, until one day, the doctor put a diagnosis in front of him: stomach cancer. Jason expressionlessly took the diagnosis. When he stepped out of the building, the sunlight was so bright it made him unsteady. In that moment of dizziness, he heard the voice he longed to hear day and night. Leo, why didn't you tell me you got in a car accident? He turned around, saw his Luna standing there, slightly angry, talking to a man in a hospital gown. He had never seen such a lively Luna. I'm sorry. I just didn't want you to worry. The man smiled at her, pulling her into his arms. Don't worry. I'm almost recovered. When you go back, make me some pork rib soup. Okay, dear. Luna slipped out of his embrace. Why are you suddenly calling me that? Because I had a dream. Someone asked me to take good care of her Luna. So, can you make some rib soup for your soon-to-be husband to try? Luna burst into laughter. She flicked his forehead. Doesn't the hospital have it for sale? But I only want to drink the one you make. They talked about something afterwards. Jason didn't hear. He watched their figures disappear around the corner. He stood amidst the crowd, feeling an indescribable pain. Actually, Luna's cooking wasn't that great, but it was unforgettable. Rib soup, she made it for him too. Only back then, he didn't know. That ordinary dish, which couldn't be more ordinary, became in his short life a delicacy he could never have again. No wonder people often say, I thought it was ordinary at the time. July 18, 2007. Came back late from school and got scolded by Mom. While doing homework at night, Luna came to play cat's cradle with me. Mom caught us and I got scolded again. She threw the string into the trash and Luna tried to pick it back, but it was already cut into pieces. August 29th. Accidentally broke a cup. Mom got very angry and asked if I was blind. Punished me by not letting me eat for a day. I was so hungry. When Mom went out at night, Luna secretly gave me 2 packs of cookies. I gobbled them up and almost choked. Luna giggled beside me. August 30th. Mom found out about the cookies. When I came back from tutoring, Mom was hitting Luna with a hanger, scolding her, asking if she was a pig, taking snacks without permission. When she heard the noise, she looked up with tears on her face, but she squeezed a smile at me when Mom couldn't see. When I hugged her and cried, she said, Sister, don't tell Mom. Otherwise, this beating is for nothing. June 11th, 2008. Only got 80 points in math. Didn't dare show Mom the paper, but she was waiting at home. She said the teacher called her. She said she was disappointed. She walked towards me with the hanger, saying she needed to teach me a lesson. Mom's beating hurts, but the second blow didn't land on me, because Luna rushed over and hugged me. She cried, asking Mom not to hit me. Mom didn't care and hit us both. Actually, she was shielding me, taking all the pain, but my tears wouldn't stop falling. I said, Mom, I'm sorry. I know I was wrong. I'll study hard. I will score 100 next time. Please stop. Please, Mom. But she didn't listen. June 12, 2008. Luna couldn't sit because it hurt. She stood the whole day. I watched her and wanted to cry. She said it was okay. Sister, don't cry. She even smiled and said, Anyway, I've been beaten by Mom so many times. My skin's thick. It doesn't matter. April 21st, 2009. Walked home with Luna. She couldn't take her eyes off a street stall, but we only had enough money to buy 1 pancake. She looked for a while, then pulled me away. I used the money to buy one for her. She split it in half. I said I didn't want any. She ate happily, saying I was the best sister in the world. I said, then Luna is the best sister in the world. September 5th, 2011. For my birthday, my aunt gave me a dress. White, very pretty. I wore it when I went out with friends, and Mom saw it when I came back. She yelled at me to take it off, then used scissors to cut it into pieces. Focus on your studies. What are you dressing up for? Who are you trying to attract? It's time to focus on studying. Stop hanging out with bad people. I watched her throw the now torn dress into the trash. I actually wanted to cry. Mom, it was just a simple white dress. October 6, 2011. Luna shyly gave me something. A white dress she sewed herself. The red stitches were wonky, like worms. She said she learned it from the grandma downstairs. It was her first time, so it turned out a bit ugly. I grabbed the hands she was trying to hide. There were 3 bandages on them. I hugged her and cried. I said I would never wear a dress again. She hugged me back. Her eyes were dark, like grapes. She said I looked like a fairy, beautiful even without a dress. She said a fairy without a dress is still a fairy. We look so much alike, but she thinks I am much prettier than her. Just like, in my eyes, she is the most beautiful person in the world. September 23, 2013. Luna always argues with Mom. Every time, she gets hit, but she doesn't learn. Still argues with Mom next time. She rested her head on my lap and asked me to sing to her. I stroked her hair and told her to stop opposing Mom, to get hurt less. She stared blankly at the wall. After a long while, she said, Sister, I can't spend my whole life listening to her. October 24, 2015. Senior year is approaching. The pressure is too much. My grades dropped by 100 places. The teacher called me to the office for a talk. I promised to keep working hard and asked her, while leaving, not to tell my mom. She said she'll see. October 28, 2015. An apple flew straight at me when I got home. I didn't dodge. It hit me and stained my clothes. Mom rushed over and slapped me hard. Are you dating at school? Dropping over 100 places and still hiding it from me? Mary, do you even see me as your mom? I work so hard to send you to school, and you spend it romancing others. I didn't. I wasn't dating. I wanted to say, but I couldn't speak. She wouldn't listen. She wouldn't believe. I got used to being silent, to the point I couldn't speak anymore. March 9, 2016. My state of mind isn't good enough. The closer it gets to the exam, the more anxious I become. The more uneasy I feel, the harder it is to perform to my true potential. Luna went out with her friends this weekend and came back. She mysteriously grabbed my hand and said she went to a temple today. She said she prayed for a fortune at the Buddha's feet. She asked for me to get into the university I want to go to. She said the temple is very effective. When she smiled, her eyes sparkled. I patted her head and smiled too. I didn't used to believe in gods and spirits, but she spoke so genuinely. I believed her. June 8, 2016. Finally relieved after finishing the last exam. Luna waited for me at the school gate. There were so many people. When I came out, I saw her small figure getting jostled around in the crowd, but her eyes were fixed on the school gate, searching for me. I called her name. Her eyes lit up immediately. She ran towards me, dived into my arms. She asked with a smile if the temple worked. We hugged in the crowded sea of people. I said, it worked. I felt like I did better than usual. I'm sure I can get into the school I want. Luna played a big part in that. June 25, 2016. I did get into the school I wanted, but my mom changed my application choice. My life was ruined. August 17, 2017. It's Luna's birthday. I bought a small cake. Mom said it was the anniversary of her suffering. Sitting on the couch mumbling about her hardships, Luna and I didn't say a word. Suddenly, Mom got angry and called us ungrateful brats. In the dim light, the scar on Luna's wrist was still there. It stung my eyes sharply. That night, Luna and I chatted. She slipped into my bed, making it crowded all of a sudden. Just like when we were 7 or 8, huddled together, sharing secrets. She asked me to guess what wish she made. I said I didn't know. But if you say your wish out loud, it won't come true. She laughed and said her wish didn't rely on gods. She said she wanted to make a lot of money in the future. Also, she hugged me and said, hope my sister could be a bit happier. June 25, 2018. Mom wants to change Luna's application choices, just like she did with mine. She doesn't want us to go too far, preferably always within her grasp. So she clipped my wings, but that won't work with Luna. She's destined to be a free bird, to fly higher and further, preferably, never come back. August 24, 2018. taking Luna to the airport. Mom still wouldn't talk to her, so I was the only one seeing her off. She dragged her suitcase, face barely able to contain her excitement. About to enter the station, I patted her head. If you ever need money, just tell me. Don't worry about money. I fear she might hold back because of money. More afraid she'd skimp on herself to save money. I can't give her the best, but I hope when she faces difficulties, thinking of me could give her some confidence. She hugged me and said okay. I watched her figure disappear into the crowd. Luna, you must be happier than anyone.